Hi guys, welcome. And who dat? I'm Joe, and I'm here to preview the Week 4 matchup as we find our NFC South divisional rival, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are 2-1, coming into town to face our beloved Bless You Boys in black and gold in the Caesars Superdome, the New Orleans Saints, who are also 2-1. Both teams sit above at the top of the division, along with Atlanta. This is our chance to distance ourselves and maintain our first place status in the division. We're coming off of our first loss of the season, a 1-point devastating loss to the Green Bay Packers. And we're not quite sure what's going to happen with Derek Carr. I believe we should just prepare ourselves for Carr to be out at least 1 or 2 weeks. I don't think he's going to play this weekend. Nothing's been determined officially yet. So let's take a look at the offensive players. Here's the depth chart as it stands right now. The Saints have signed quarterback Jake Luton. He was with the team last year, all year. He was with the practice squad and was even elevated to the active roster for a few games. This past offseason, he was on our practice squad, and I believe we may have released him from the practice squad. Carolina ended up acquiring him, and he has spent this past offseason with Carolina. He was on their practice squad, and we grabbed him back and put him on the active roster. We need a backup right now. This move tells me Carr's not going to be ready, at least this weekend. So Jameis is going in as the starter, and I believe Jake Luton is going to be the primary backup. So we can use Taysom Hill in his slash role. And if something happens to Jameis, we'll throw in Luton. And there's a big chance that we'll go from Luton to Hill if need be, if the quarterback play suffers. I mean, if Winston gets hurt, you're just in one of those spots. I mean, right now we've got 5 quarterbacks on our roster. We're in one of those spots. Jake Hayner's still suspended, but Alvin Kamara is not. He is back. He's on the roster. We're supposed to look up, right? Well, I'm not too convinced our offensive line's going to get it all together in 1 week. I thought the first couple of games we would work through the kinks. It seems as though the unit as a whole is just performing poorly. Not sure what we can do to fix that situation, except to get the ball out of the hands of the quarterback quickly. And Alvin Kamara excels at that. We have a couple of wide receivers in Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave who can get open quickly as well. Now, as I recall, Jameis Winston played a lot in the preseason as the starter, since Carr only played 1 drive. And Winston was out there completing passes, and I believe that's where we saw A.T. Perry pop up a bunch, Winston and Jake Hayner, utilizing that big body of A.T. Perry's. And I'm starting to think perhaps we activate Perry in this game. I think Winston likes big wide receivers. He had Mike Evans for a little while in Tampa Bay, and he's got Mike Thomas now. I believe A.T. Perry might be an option here. So we're going to have to keep an eye out on how the Saints deal with the game this season, this upcoming game. So I'm worried about Foster Moreau being injured. The way our injury report is as of right now, quarterback Derek Carr is not participating. Safety Jordan Howden had an injured finger going into the game last week, and he played the entire game, but I believe he may have had a surgery on that finger. So he hasn't practiced yet this week. We're not sure if he's going to be out or not. That would be a blow since he's already our backup to Marcus May. Guard Cesar Ruiz is injured. We haven't put him on IR. We're expecting him to come back. He had a concussion, and he's going through the concussion protocol now. If Ruiz doesn't play, we're going to just keep James Hurst at right guard, and we're going to start Andres Pete at left guard. That injury to Foster Moreau bothers me. The running game suffers when Morrow's not in the game. Jimmy Graham is not very good at run blocking. And, Juwan Johnson is a pretty good blocker for basically a wide receiver turned tight end. So that's how the injury report is for the game right now. And I'm not sure if we're going to see any additions, elevations. I'm looking at A.T. Perry possibly being elevated. On the practice squad, we have 2 tight ends. A second-year player in Tommy Hudson, and a first-year player, 1-year player in Michael Jacobson. I'm not sure if either one of those guys got elevated this past weekend. We may have just gone into the game with, Johnson and Graham, and then just considered Hill a third tight end. So that's your offense for right now. Let's pull up the defense. And we've got some stuff going on here. I've decided to put Foskey ahead of Kyle Phillips. Foskey got a lot of playing time this past game. He's getting better. I think he's going to get better the more reps he has. So Kyle Phillips is that 5th guy as long as Peyton Turner's out. And we're going to see a lot of Foskey. Defensive line as a whole is doing pretty well right now. Ty Summers is officially on the active roster now at linebacker, and it's that special teams play that's got him on the roster instead of Jalen Smith. The secondary is where we have an issue. Paulson Adebo is still out with that hamstring. He didn't play last week. And Isaac Yiadom is currently on the injury report, though I don't think it's serious. We're going to have to keep an eye on that since May is out and since Howden's dealing with an injury. This past weekend, we elevated safety Jonathan Abram from the practice squad. We also elevated cornerback Cameron Dantzler Jr. He's a 4-year vet, Abram being a 5-year vet. So there's a chance that they are on the active roster now, though officially they haven't been listed on any of the rosters that I looked at. I know they were elevated before the game. And so I'm looking for safety Abram and cornerback Dantzler Jr. to be elevated again, especially if Adebo's not ready to go. A new addition to the practice squad is a familiar one in safety, Daniel Sorensen. Daniel Sorensen was a really good backup last year, a vet that was, 10-year vet, forced to play some time. He had a couple of interceptions late in the season for the Saints when the Saints were starving for interceptions. Daniel Sorensen is also a very good practice squad player. So I'm keeping an eye out on that. Abram is an elevation that I think is going to come first. And, as long as May's out, and we'll see if Howden's out, maybe Sorensen comes in. Otherwise, defensively, I still think we have good depth. Ugo Amadi is suffering through an injury right now, but I think he'll be ready to go for this game. We're just going to have to keep an eye out on the late injury reports that are released deep into the week. So, let's talk about the game and what my prediction is going to be. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are suffering with some injuries right now as well. They've got 3 DBs that are on their injury report, including Carlton Davis, Derek Pitts, and Jamel Dean. They got 2 really good defensive tackles that are out. Vita Vea. Vita Vea is their number 1 big guy, and he's out now, along with their first-round draft pick, Kalijah Kancey, who I was kind of excited about watching. Both of those defensive tackles haven't practiced yet this week. And at linebacker, they got the rookie Dennis, who's out, but also the veteran Devin White for Tampa Bay has been injured. And the Don't know if he's going to play. So the Saints could catch a break if Carlton Davis at cornerback doesn't play. Vita Veda doesn't play. Their first-round draft pick, Cansey, doesn't play. And linebacker Devin White, who, gives the Saints problems every time we play. The Bucks give the Saints problems every time we play them. I feel like they're a very good defense. They allowed quite a bit against the Eagles this past Monday night. And so maybe their age is catching up with them. Maybe this in-between stage might be beneficial for the Saints. We can go in there and have ourselves a good time in the Dome. Well, Jameis Winston could have a revenge game, and he could play out of his mind. And if he does that, the Saints offense, and we focus on running the ball with Kamara back, get the ball out of Winston's hands quick to the tight end, to Michael Thomas on some slants, to Alvin Kamara out of the backfield. This is things that Winston doesn't do a lot, but we've been trying to get him to curb the turnovers and also to get the ball out of his hands faster. I don't see much of a progress in that in the years that he's been with us. But, he's only started, 7 games, and he's 5-2. So best case scenario, we put it all together. Tampa Bay comes in weak, and we come in strong, and we win the game. It's really hard for me to predict that. When I saw that fourth quarter last week, it just brought back visions of last year. It felt like we regressed all of a sudden. Everything we were positive about in the first 2.5 games kind of went out the window with that fourth quarter. So it's left me a little pessimistic. But I picked the Saints to win in every game so far, and I'm going to go ahead and pick them again. This might be a miracle, but I'm looking at it as a very low-scoring game, defensive battle. Whoever can get the big breaks, as well as a few big plays would help, is going to win this game. Baker Mayfield is the quarterback for Tampa Bay. I think the Saints can shut him down. Tampa Bay's running game is suffering right now. It's all lined up for the Saints to maintain the number 1 spot in the division and get that all-elusive divisional win. We only won 2 of them last year. We win this weekend, we'll have 2 already this year. So I'm going to predict the Saints win in an ugly game. Final score, Saints 12, Tampa Bay 9. This is what I'm going with. Our field goal kicker is going to have one heck of a day. Defense is going to have to stand up tall again. Defense is going to have to win this one for us. I don't see much coming out of this offense until the offensive line woes are corrected. That's my prediction. Subscribe to my channel, Rosenfield 10. For more videos like this, I will be doing a review and reaction to the game. And that video will come out no later than Tuesday. And until then, I'll talk to you later. Who dat?